holotropic breath work.
Yeah.
And there's a really amazing breathwork facilitator I work with here. His name is Dave Murphy. And basically the way that he teaches it, it's a 2-part breath. So the first part of the inhale is into the base of the stomach like you would for yoga. And there's a second part of the inhale into the chest. So it would be like it would sound something like, and then your exhale is a long exhale out the mouth. So what you're essentially doing is you're creating a full inhale breath that fills every part of the, chest or torso and your lower base of your gut. And so you don't leave any room for, any extra breath to enter, and then a full release. And you do that in a fairly sort of natural pattern that feels good for you. And you can do it for, say, between 5 minutes to 30 minutes. When you get to sort of about 10 minutes is when you start to feel your prefrontal cortex turn off. And it's a really interesting sensation. So it's like, what happens is you go through all this mental resistance. So in the first sort of maybe 5 to 7 minutes, you're like, is this even working? Am I doing it right? Why am I doing this? I don't really want to be here. Like, you might have a billion thoughts of resistance. And then you just keep going with it, keep with the practice, two parts inhale, 1 part exhale, moving, get music to support you to go through that process. By the time you get to about the 3rd song, suddenly there's just this like almost euphoric silence. And you're like, wow, okay, this is happening. And then you keep going. And then what can happen is you can get like tingly in the hands, and your hands can actually crunch up a little bit like this. You can feel like in your hands and feet, they're crunching, and you feel like you don't have control of your hands and feet. You can feel tingling all along the jaw around here, or you might feel like you're clenching, or you have tightness around here. You can feel like really interesting tightness going in certain parts of your body. For example, if you have like solar plexus chakra release stuff you need to do, you can feel tension in the gut. And I have felt at times like someone's standing on my gut or on my heart, and you think, oh, am I ever going to get out of this, or is this my life now? And so it can generate fear, and lots of things can kind of happen. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, what you normally do is do a breath hold. And you can hold your breath incredibly because you're over oxygenating your brain for about 4 minutes. And it's wild what happens when you hold your breath. All this light seems to appear. Your eyes are closed, but you see light. And then you can kind of visualize what appear to me as being some of the most deeply parts of being connected to your higher self, to oneness, to anyone else in the space if you're doing it in a group space. And it's very visual. It's almost as if you're on like a mushroom trip. It's wild, but incredible.
Wow, that's so cool. Okay, thank you for that. And for our listener at home, obviously, you want to make sure that you're using your due diligence and your discernment. If you have any breathing issues or anything, don't do that, and see a doctor if you need to. Just throw that in there.
Yes.
Yes. So that's really interesting, because I think that when you're talking about that, I go, oh, the minute that discomfort would come up, I would imagine that most people shut it down and they block that, right? They would go, okay, no, I can't even go there. But what you're kind of saying is, if you can persevere through that, what you're able to do is actually almost unblock parts of that energy that's been stored there, that resistance that's coming up, and then being awashed in that light feeling almost is that restorative part that you're gunning for.
That's it.
Yeah.
And, the process of it is really fascinatingly like any healing process, right? Sometimes, depending on what you're working on, the healing process can sometimes feel really long. And, let's say you're working through the psychology medium or whatever, and working through your problem psychologically or through the mind, and you'll have resistance in that space too. And it's really the same pattern. So it's, when you're going through breath work, for example, it's a really short-lived process and short-lived modality of any kind of healing work you'll ever do, because You'll start the thing, you'll have major resistance, you'll maybe even feel defensive towards yourself about these changes. Then you push through the other side of that, and that's where the magic happens. So it's kind of any healing, I think, has that same process or that same feeling
Yeah.
related to it. And breath work's a really fast approach to get to it.